Hi, I'll be explaining a PyQt that's using Python, um, a GUI that I made for this sort of program that would read your emails. You can log in with your Gmail and it will see if that the Gmail has any unread emails, and if it does, then it can communicate with a Bluetooth module and get it to light up. But that's outside the scope of this explanation. So going to my GitHub, the only files you'll need, well, you can download all the files, but I do not use any other py files. I previously used Qt Designer to make these UI files and then converted them into py files, but I found that the code was very long and redundant, as is with a lot of automatically generated code. So what you really need to do simply is to run qt.py. What the heck? Okay, entered it wrong. You just need to run qt.py and you should see my GUI. So before, oh yeah, you will need some other library files. So the library files you need are number one, you'll need PyBlues for the Bluetooth, or you can just comment out the code. I'm using Python 2.7, by the way. You also need, most importantly, is PyQt. I use 2.7 as well. So with these two libraries in check, you can then run my program. So this is my program. I call it NotiMo, and it's very simple, nothing fancy. It has a Bluetooth, so you're supposed to connect the Bluetooth by clicking this button. So it fails because I don't have my Bluetooth with me, and it says that on the status message. This is called the status message, as well as the... No, this is the status message. But they're both status messages. And then this is login, this is logout. Facebook and Twitter aren't working yet, but it's just the API thing. I haven't hard-coded these buttons, but that's not really necessary for now to demonstrate the function. So let's get started. So I log in with my own email. I happen to have a whole bunch of unread emails. So I'm gonna... The password shows up, so I'm going to hide this window while I type it. So if it logs in, the window blinks. I haven't been able to get it to update the status message because it somehow jams the email login system and it gives me back errors. So then now I'm logged in, even though it doesn't say that. I'm logged in and I can simply go check Gmail now, and it says you got email, and I got 1200 unread emails. I don't really bother deleting emails sometimes. So if I clear the notifications, what this does is that for my Bluetooth connected module, it's connected to a LED light, and that turns the LED light back off, but that's not in the scope of this. And then I can log out. So I'm logged out right now. If I try to update again, it won't work. This should be updated, I guess. So I can log in with another email account that I have that happens to have no emails in it. So I'm logged in, I check Gmail, and it says you have no unread emails. So I can just log back out. So this is my code, and how it really works is that let me open the Python GUI again. So there's a login. This login dialog is actually this guy right here. This is called a dialog. So the code is all here. The layout is set. Have icons, and there's also the handle login, which I didn't show. But if you don't put in a proper email, and if your email doesn't work, then what happens is it says invalid credentials. Let me try that again. So let's just say I enter in my email and I do the wrong password. This is not my password, obviously. Invalid credentials. So in some sense, if this pops up, then you know that you entered in the wrong email and therefore you're not logged in. So that's one class. The second class is main window. Main window is self-explanatory, is this whole thing, but and then I have all these functions. Connected query is this guy. So you see Bluetooth connection failed, so this is the message that shows if it didn't connect properly. Logins, and I have the initialization of all the menu bars and toolbars in here. So this is the menu bar and this is the toolbar. Code is self-explanatory in some sense. Say for example the login function. If login is linked to this icon right here, and if I click it, then it goes to login action. This is login action. So for login action, I do this, and this is a special case because I have to bring up that other dialog that I showed earlier for the login. So I think this line actually isn't necessary, but most importantly is that you need this line. You execute the login function. You create a object called login window. You create an instance of the login class called login window, and then login window show, and then it will show itself. This guy will show itself, initialize itself, and all that. For the other ones, you simply have a say logout button, and is linked to logout action, and it logs you out of the email. This email is using the IMAP library, and it's part of the Python itself. So moving on, this is the more tricky part, but basically why I have another class called main widget is because to handle these tabs, the main window doesn't really offer the same layout as main widget. It's kind of hard to explain, but if I try to do these setups, if I try to do this kind of layout in main window, like without this whole tab, it would sort of look, it wouldn't align itself for some reason. It would just stay all bunched up in the corner. So in main widget, I have these different functions, and for example, Gmail check is this guy right here. As I said, I currently don't have these buttons in order yet, but it's pretty simple probably. So the initialization part is perhaps more important. I define my tabs, I add the tabs, and for each tab I have a separate layout. So in PyQt there's a few layouts. There's a vertical box layout, there's a horizontal box layout, form layout, grid layout. Personally, you can also put layouts within each other, and then put something called a stretch. So for example, what happens here is that if I maximize it, then it stays in the center. This is because in the home layout, I have a home grid layout embedded inside. I have a grid layout embedded inside a horizontal layout. How this works is that for my grid layout, I added 3 widgets: welcome text. This is the welcome to NotiMo right here. BT text, Bluetooth text, and also the clear notifications button. These 3 buttons combined make up the grid layout. But if I just put them in, I don't think there's a centerize option. Like, I should put everything in the center. If I expanded my window, they would just look ugly. It still looks ugly right now, but less ugly. So then you can actually put layouts within each other, no hassle. Here I show that I declare a Gmail tab, this guy right here, and later on I just simply add the Gmail tab into the tab widget, which is this guy right here. All the tabs are moderated by the tab widget. And the Gmail tab itself has a layout, so that's a bit similar to before. Okay, that's pretty much it. So how my GUI runs is that this main function gets executed. This is mandatory code. I declare an instance of my main window, not my main widget, my main window, and then I show my main window. When my main window runs, then I make an instance of main widget, which is essentially a child class in some sense, and I set the main widget as a central widget. So centralized. This whole guy is centralized, and then I initialize the rest of the main window. So that's basically how my Python works. This part is sort of unrelated in this scope. It's just setting up the Bluetooth. It's part of the PyBlues module, and I would simply send letters, so the LED attached would be able to read an Arduino input and change colors according to these letters, but that's outside of the scope.